Today, we will talk about HBAR once more and how they really seem to be carving out a niche in the ESG and green energy industries and all of the different things that actually connect to that. So, actually, yesterday, I did a pretty interesting one, in my own humble opinion, of course, on the Hedera Project Guardian and how they are partnered up with some pretty big people in a couple of industries that actually are working on tokenizing green electricity and carbon credits, which are worth billions and billions of dollars. And on the site, which I will talk about more, that carbon market is 851 billion, but I don't think that's the carbon credits. I found about 20 on that. So today, I want to expand a little bit more on what I talked about yesterday and use those as points to just show how much that HBAR is actually involved in with this ESG related economy that is not about to go anywhere anytime soon, whether we like it or not, for political reasons or whatever else. And I have experience in oil and gas and renewable hydrogen, and I have a wide array of opinions on it, but that isn't exactly crypto, so I won't go into that. If you're interested in that stuff, reach out to me on Telegram, and I'll be happy to talk your ear off about it. So, in my video yesterday, one of the things was about EDF tokenizing renewable electricity credits, or no, renewable energy certificates. That actually is implemented to prove that a certain amount of electricity was actually generated from a quote unquote green source, like hydroelectricity, wind, solar, all kinds of stuff. But they are a member of the governing council. Then you have Hedera and Microsoft, and I believe that they worked with Envision as well. But that is explaining the $250 billion US market, which I believe that amount is the expectation by 2030. So again, I don't think that these are around the actual credits individually. They're associating a lot of other things in there, but it is still very, very huge information about one of my top holdings, HBAR. So from Web3 Alert, which is run by Ncash Official and Tokenizer, I think. This whole thing about blockchain being bad for the environment has really come about because of the increase in electricity consumption due to Bitcoin mining, and it is true that it is a very heavily energy intensive process, especially with each halving, because it gets twice as hard, and it's at a point now where it consumes a whole lot. That has been pushed by these really large people in ESGs, who are heavily tied up and invested in the whole ESG investment oriented approach. B- BlackRock, Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett, they've all said it, but it's not really an accurate portrayal of crypto overall. Unfortunately, everyone who turns on Fox or CNN, 99% of them only associate crypto with Bitcoin at this point, if they associate it with anything at all. So now we have projects like EWT, HBAR, and even Algorand taken this approach where they are actually implementing their different technologies and essentially marketing that to the ESG minded crowd. You have EWT, which is Energy Web Token, which is actually working on tokenizing electricity. And you have HBAR and Algo, which each of those are L1s, and they're not inherently ESG. But a lot of these L1s that don't have a proof of work protocol have taken a position of really hyping up their increased efficiency of their protocol itself in order to market it in a way that is much more appealing to the increasingly ESG minded crowd. And projects like HBAR are actually actively working on partnerships and projects that are related to things in ESG, which I've said that 10 times now, but it means environment, society, and governance. And it's essentially a much more attractive way of saying that they're interested in political correctness and environmentalism, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but it can be a very flawed and abused thing as well. But as far as HBAR goes, which is down here towards the bottom, it is largely through their core solution, Guardian, which if you haven't caught that yet, I did put out content on that yesterday, so I would highly suggest to tune in. But that is essentially tokenizing digital measurement, reporting, and verification for carbon credits, which is very, very important, and it is a very valuable industry as well. I spent a while in oil and gas, and carbon credits are a very big deal. That being said, modern laws and regulations, primarily put out by the EPA, which consist of a bunch of unelected types, but it is nearly impossible to operate these oil and gas processes in a outright unenvironmentally conscious way anymore. In fact, if you put up a new refinery or a chemical plant, it has to be almost carbon neutral at this point in time. So, which is primarily why we don't see a lot of those built, and our refining capacity is approximately half of what it was in the 1980s. But again, I'm going to end up on a rant if I'm not careful here. But the entire energy industry is much more efficient than a lot of people think. But our two examples here, and I apologize about that one, but I can't help it. We have Kia and Hyundai have applied a solution with HBAR to actually tokenize their supply chain in terms of carbon tracing. Then you've got Hyundai's luxury subsidiary Genesis, which are actually really really appealing cars. Their G90 Ultimate has a 5.0 in it, and I believe it's actually supercharged, so it actually has some pretty cool offerings. But then we have called out Hyundai again in this MOBIS department. I'm not too sure, but they are actually trying to authenticate spare and aftermarket car parts with NFTs. The manufacturing industry is arguably one of the top carbon emission contributors on Earth, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but hey, that's just how it works. And with cars, it just adds an additional layer of air pollution we'll have to curtail one way or another. Okay, I can argue with that, but I won't. So that is a synopsis of where we are about to go. So we've got Hyundai here. Well, it's actually Hyundai and Kia. They introduce a CO2 emission monitoring system built on the HBAR network. So here is the article from the HBAR Foundation, which is from August of 2023. But it essentially just explains why HBAR is actually so well configured to be able to be inherently energy efficient and almost carbon neutral as well, just because it doesn't require a lot of electricity and the production of electricity to operate. So it just explains what each of the companies in here are. But it is interesting because it says that the combination of AI technology and the high performance Hedera network enables Hyundai, Kia, and their partners to preemptively meet local and global environmental regulations and establish sustainable supply chains. That preemptively is actually huge here because if you're not planning to meet the upcoming EPA regulations and any laws and stuff, then you essentially can't operate. So it pays off a lot to keep on these. Here, I found an article on the Hyundai car part NFTs, which is from January of 2021. So it is not new, but I had not heard about this before. So Hyundai Mobis, which is the parts company under Hyundai, has launched a new parts software system called the most advanced parts system. Wow, that's a little lame, but which implements AI and blockchain, which technically isn't true because HBAR is not a blockchain. It is a directed acyclic graph. But yeah, it's that isn't a huge deal. It'll have about 100,000 people accessing it across the supply chain, with over 16,000 dealers in over 200 countries, and it'll support 3 million different parts for 300 different kinds of cars, which is insane. But yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot on it there. But to go even more into the green energy side of HBAR, if you go on their site and if you go into use cases and you go down here to sustainability, STs, it opens up a lot of really interesting information. Now, I want to talk about this one a bit more, but it does call out a lot of what I just talked about, where you have a lot of very large corporations involved in this, but not all of them are actually pursuing ESG kinds of economies. They are essentially just saying that by tokenizing things on HBAR, it is inherently much more energy efficient. So it's kind of cheating in a way, but it's not wrong. So this one caught my eye, of course, because of the 850 billion and up value of global carbon markets, but also because of what they are actually working on. So I'm not even sure how to pronounce this. I'm kind of pronouncing it TYMLEZ at this point, but they are again working on monetizable certificates. And if you open up the page here, it is actually talking about proving the origin of green resources and emissions offsets certification. And I found it extra interesting because it talks about the green hydrogen market as well, which I worked in for about a year and a half or so. And it is expanding, particularly over here in the US and Canada. So they are working to prove or to help companies prove decarbonization efforts that have long time or relied for a long time on manual paper-based auditing techniques and Web 2 tech, which is what we see again and again in all different kinds of industries. So they are wanting, with their TYMLEZ platform, to guarantee the origin of raw minerals and resources, including green hydrogen and green pig iron, which are interesting because now you're actually tokenizing the production of green hydrogen, which, if you're not familiar with that, they just take some highly ionized H2O and they put a lot of electricity in it, and it divides the H2O up into H2 and O2. So it is an interesting process, but it takes a lot of water as well. So you're kind of trading carbon emissions for a high amount of consumption of water. ESG compliance and carbon reporting, which is absolutely huge, and smart energy solutions, including microgrids and virtual power plants. I'm not familiar with this one, but I am familiar with the concept of microgrids, more so on the industrial side, but that is just an effort to move away from these huge countrywide electricity grids and producing your own electricity on site or in a particular area, and then having a grid run off of that. So I think it's really interesting. I talked about my b- 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 billion-dollar idea to talk to a couple of guys I know about tokenizing carbon credits in my video yesterday. And my next idea was actually tokenizing hydrogen. So I don't have any ideas anymore. But that is what the TYMLEZ project is all about. And I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that right. But as everyone is probably now aware, I can talk a lot on the renewable kind of energy industry and the traditional ones as well, how it ties together, and how tokenization can and will be extremely valuable in all different areas of the energy industry.